Hey everyone, welcome back to Clarke's Closer Look. I'm Marcel Clarke, and this week we're taking a closer look at how the Trump administration is aiming to secure our borders when it comes to the fight against drug cartels. For those of you who do not know, I'm based out of El Paso, Texas, which is right next door from Ciudad Juarez. So all this news surrounding border towns is really impacting communities like the one I live in. That's why for this segment we brought in former U.S. Marshal Robert Almonte to help us better understand some of the moves this administration is already making. Well, Robert Almonte, thank you so much for joining me today. We have a big talker, especially for people who live in cities like El Paso, Texas. Just recently, the Trump administration designated 8 Latin crime organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. So, Robert, how exactly does this move add pressure to the cartels?
Well, basically, this move means that the gloves have come off. There's no more playing with these cartels. I've been advocating for several years now that the Mexican cartels are terrorist organizations and they need to be declared as such. So I'm very happy to see that. So, I mean, we're going to go after their proceeds more proactively. We're going to go after them more proactively. And again, the gloves have come off. I think we're going to start targeting the leadership of these different cartels and either getting them arrested or eliminating them by killing them. I think that needs to happen. We need to get rid of the cartel.
You're talking about direct action. Could we see direct action moving forward?
Yeah, but I want to be careful with using the word direct action. It won't. See, I've advocated that we need to get more involved, the United States, in going after the cartel.
Mhm.
And it's not just me saying that. It's just not people here in the United States saying that. It's people in Mexico that are saying that.
Mhm.
I go to Mexico several times. I've been to Mexico several times to conduct research. And in conducting my research, I interact with the people in Mexico, the good people in Mexico. And there's a lot of good people in Mexico. And believe me, they want our help. They're tired of it too, because the Mexican cartel, contrary to popular belief by a lot of these pro-legalization people, they're not only about drugs, they're about making money.
Mhm.
And their bread and butter making money is extorting these poor people day in and day out. The taco vendors on the street corner, the fruit vendors, they have to pay the cartel money to stay in business. If they don't, they shut them down, and sometimes they even kill them. They kidnap business owners, family members of business owners, and hold them for ransom. So there's so many things that the Mexican cartels are involved in. They're not just about drugs. So as far as direct action, I've advocated for many years now. That they are terrorists and they need to be declared as such. As far as going after them, yeah, we're not going to send tanks and troops across the border into Mexico to go after them. We're going to strategically target them, and we're going to target them by using intelligence, a lot of intelligence, and hopefully our Mexican counterparts will work with us. But I feel that if Mexico does not want to work with our government to target the cartel, we're going to do it anyway. Why? Because they're terrorist organizations, which means they're no different than the terrorist organizations in the Middle East.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter of time before, based on the intelligence we get, we locate them. And if they can't be arrested, they'll be eliminated.
And let's talk more about that relationship we currently have with Mexico's president. There's been, of course, a lot of tension, but let's talk about this issue that we've been seeing here on the border and also within Mexico. It's plagued Mexico, like you said, with a lot of Mexican families, the drug cartel violence. Could we see more of a compromise? Could we see her work with the Trump administration to fight this battle that Mexico has seen for decades?
I think she has no choice, and I think we're seeing that now. I mean, President Trump came out and said he was going to put some tariffs, and at first she was resistant, and and then she had a change of heart that, okay, we're going to work with you because, quite frankly, Mexico can do more. They haven't done their fair share of addressing the illegal immigration into their country
Yeah.
and into the United States. So they can do more, and it looks like they're doing more now. So that's what it takes. So we're seeing some compromise, but it comes as basically President Trump forcing that compromise.
Yeah. And you mentioned a key aspect here is the economic impact that we're seeing. Obviously, the reality is Mexico's economy is largely driven by its dependence on narcotics. We know that billions of dollars are put into the Mexican economy because of this. Is there a possible future where this type of money is not generated by drug cartels, and what would that future look like for Mexico?
Well, let me tell you this. It could be in the future.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it won't be in my lifetime.
Okay.
You're pretty young, so I don't see it in your lifetime either.
Mhm.
It's going to take some time, and let me tell you why. Because everything you just said evolves around one thing that's basically contributing to the Mexican cartel's existence in Mexico, and that's corruption. And
Mhm.
not until Mexico gets a handle on the problem of corruption, number one, admit it that they have a problem with corruption, and number two, do something to address it, or things going to change. Unfortunately, the corruption is embedded in the fiber of the fabric that makes Mexico what Mexico is. My grandparents immigrated from Mexico, from Guanajuato, during the Mexican Revolution. They came over legally. Both of my parents were born here. I was born here. Um, there's a lot of good people in Mexico, and when I ask them what's wrong with Mexico, they tell me corruption. And
Mhm.
then I ask them, do you see that changing? And they said, unfortunately, no. And I go, why? That's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And it is sad because I feel so bad for the good people of Mexico. Um, and this comes at all levels of the Mexican government. I mean, you've seen where Genaro Garcia Luna, high-ranking Mexican government official, convicted. I mean, that's been a problem for a long, long time. And then it goes all the way down, starting with the local corrupt police officer who stops people to get them la mordida. I witnessed that when I was a little boy going across the border from El Paso to Juarez, and my dad getting pulled over, and my dad handing that so-called policeman some money.
Mhm.
And then he explained to me what's going on, and I said, Dad, that's not right. And he tells me, son, that's just the way it is. And this was back in the 60s.
Yeah, and you
This has
still
been
see
going
it.
on for a long time. So I have to, I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I think that the biggest problem in Mexico is the corruption. And not until they get a handle on that,
Yeah.
address it at the local, state, and federal level, are things going to change.
Okay. We're going to get into that corruption in just a little bit, but I want to kind of touch on the history here in the El Paso region, because we're both here in the El Paso region. We've seen a lot of changes within the drug cartels, and so far we've had our eyes on the Sinaloa cartel, La Línea, and La Empresa. Could you kind of touch base on those three different cartels and how they've dominated this area and the Mexico region?
Yeah, well, actually, I started working undercover with the El Paso Police Department and working narcotics in 1985. During that time, the leader of the Juarez cartel was Amado Carrillo Fuentes,
Mhm.
El Señor del Cielo, the Lord of the Skies. And the El Paso Intelligence Center used to be located before they were moved to big fields. They used to be located right off of Interstate 10 there in Missouri. And from the window, we could see Amado's house. And he was the most wanted man in the world, and we couldn't touch him. So anyway, I'm just throwing that little tidbit in there. Those are the memories I have. So the Juarez cartel was very, very, very powerful. And then you mentioned La Línea. Yeah, they're the enforcement group for the Juarez cartel, and Bresa also. But I have to tell you, that's changed over the last couple of years.
Okay.
Over the last few years, now we need to add the Sinaloa cartel and
Mhm.
the CJNG cartel. Those are the three main cartels operating in the El Paso region. It's going to be the Juarez cartel, Sinaloa, and CJNG. I mean, you basically have a competition going on between these different cartels.
And we know that there's been a big talk as well with a big conversation revolving around human trafficking, human smuggling. Is there one cartel that is more catered to that, or are they all touching base with that? Is it all including human trafficking and narcotics as well?
Yeah, they're all into human trafficking, and let me tell you why. Because with the surge of the migration, the Mexican cartel took advantage of that.
Mhm.
and they tapped into that, and they're in control of the human trafficking. And quite frankly, they make a lot of money off of human trafficking, human smuggling.
Mhm.
So here's the deal. It's more cost effective for the Mexican cartels to be involved in human smuggling than drug smuggling.
Mhm.
Because when they're smuggling drugs across the border, most of the time the cartel don't get their money until the drugs have reached their destination. Then the money is sent back. With human smuggling, it's different. These migrants that are paying money willingly to be smuggled willingly, they pay the cartel directly or indirectly cash up front. The cartels have their money. So if the migrants get apprehended at the border or in the interior of the United States, cartels don't lose any sleep. They don't care because they already got their money. 53 migrants died in the back of a truck in San Antonio a couple of years ago. The cartel didn't lose any sleep over that because they already got their money. So that's why the cartels are heavily involved in human smuggling, human trafficking.
Yeah. And just looking at some numbers, we obviously know the apprehensions on the border have gone down. Just to give you an example, ABC News is reporting from January 21st through January 31st, show that apprehensions along the border have dropped 85% from the same period of last year, obvious with all these changes taking place. My question here, though, for you, Robert, if they continue to slow down, will that shift the way President Trump is planning to target the cartels?
I don't think so. First of all, getting back to what you just said, those numbers are amazing. And those numbers are what they should be, to be honest with you. That's exactly what should be happening on our border. I saw an article today in the New York Post that there's more federal agents on the border today than there are migrants. That wasn't the case not that long ago, and that's the way it should be. I don't think that's going to impact any plan that President Trump has in going after the Mexican cartels. I really don't.
Okay. And final thoughts, Robert, when it comes to strategy in targeting drug cartels, what president comes to mind on other side, which includes the Mexican side or the US side, that has done a good job with combating this issue?
Has
Has
done a good job.
mm-hmm.
Well, I would say that the only one that come to mind on our side of the border is President Trump. I
Okay.
mean, we're witnessing that right now. We've never seen anything like this before. And he ran on this platform, and that's why he was elected. So on the Mexican side, quite frankly, I haven't seen anybody
Okay.
because historically, my research and research of other people involving the Mexican cartel, some of these past presidents, I won't give any names, but they, instead of going after all the cartels, they decided to go after certain cartels and allow one cartel to basically exist. And that's going to be the Sinaloa cartel. The
Okay.
Sinaloa cartel has been protected by the Mexican government, including the office of president in Mexico for many years now.
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to be an ongoing issue. Robert Almonte, thank you so much for your insight here. It was great chatting with you on this topic.
Well, thank you for having me.